This year, like last year, we have been able to help so many small businesses and business owners buy and sell businesses, and it's been a rewarding practice that we're part of that transaction to make sure that we're getting it simplified, but making sure that we're doing it in a manner that protects the parties. That said, when you're buying a business or when you're starting a business, what are the things that you might or might not be thinking about? Oftentimes we see people that want to start a business together and they want to own it together. Something that's very important when you are talking about owning an equitable interest together is to truly understand that the equity ownership has nothing to do with doing the work day to day. That has something to do with whether or not you're going to elect somebody as an officer or as an employee of that company. This ownership, which is so coveted, is literally about the right to vote for the board and the right to vote on substantial matters, such as selling all or substantially all of the assets. That ownership is a function of owning a piece of the equity, but not being responsible for the necessary day-to-day liabilities that that entity may incur. Think of it this way. You want to start a real estate firm. You want to start a restaurant. You want to start X, Y, or Z. Do you just want to own it, or do you want to work in it? Second, if you just want to own it, why not just buy a publicly traded one? You have to assess the risk and the rewards either way, right? Because owning a piece of your local real estate brokerage or owning a piece of a publicly traded firm, your ownership is essentially the same. Yeah, you have more control here on your local firm, but you also have more risk to your capital because you can't readily sell those shares. Another thing you got to think about when two people are going into business together is, what are the kinds of events that we may want to think about that would cause us to want to buy the other out? Some common ones are death. I don't want to be partners with your kids. Divorce. Maybe illness. Perhaps you want that option if the other party decides to retire or no longer wants to serve within the business as an officer. All these things are considerations because you're going into it with a certain set of expectations. What does the exit plan look like? And so that's something that each and every company that we look at that has multiple owners, these are the kind of questions we ask. If it's not forever, when is enough enough? What if one wants to sell and the other doesn't want to sell? How does that work? So these are the kind of things that we want to provide for in the document so you don't have to go through messy situations if you guys get gridlocked later on. So those are some considerations we have working through kind of what we call the corporate formalities of starting an entity.